Tuesday morning, April 30th. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown is absent at the moment. Mr. Gallagher?
Here.
Mr. Jones? Here. Mr. Miller? Here. Ms. Conwell?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Public comment?
No one is signed in.
In your packets, we have the minutes of the April 2nd meeting. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion. And I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Resolution 219-0093.
Resolution number 2019-0093, confirming the county executive's appointment of various individuals to serve on the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation Board of Trustees for various unexpired terms.
Thank you. And who have we here to speak on this matter?
On behalf of the county executive, I am here to recommend an appointment of Matt Carroll and Michelle Pomerantz to the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation. The board has 11 members, and Matt Carroll will serve an unexpired term ending March 31st, 2020. Michelle Pomerantz will serve an unexpired term ending January 31st, 2021.
Thank you. The chairwoman is on her way. She will be here momentarily. Mr. Carroll?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have a brief statement I can make, if that's acceptable.
Briefer the better.
Yes, sir. As you may know, I oversee the Department of Economic Development in my current role as the chief. That's one of the departments that I have. And I have, over time, gotten to learn quite a bit about our process, how we do loans, how we come up with them, some of the internal workings of them. And with the idea that county appoints certain employees to this board, and there's also outside private bankers and other experts, I feel that I can add value to the board. I've been the county's appointee to the Gateway Economic Development Corp., the county's Facilities Development Corporation, the Convention Facilities Development Corporation, Group Plan Commission, and also the Board of Revision. I serve with the councilman as the alternate. My other background, I do have a law degree that I haven't used, but law degree does teach you to apply a lot of facts. So you take a situation and you apply the laws to that. I think this board is similar to that. We have loans that will come before the committee, and pretty much the county has determined that this group does creditworthiness of our loans. So Economic Development Department puts a loan together, they work on the details, and they come forward. And the CCCIC really determines, is this we have enough security? Is this a good risk for the county? Does it make sense? And fortunately, there are bankers that really have that expertise. But that's what we do, is we apply, I think, those standards to the facts of the loan. And then we're a check, the board is a check on to make sure that, again, the entity's creditworthy, that it's a good risk overall for the county. And then, of course, it comes back to this body after that. So I understand from staff that there's good training involved, so we get really a lay of the land. I'm not an expert on loan financing, but I think I can learn. I do have, again, some familiarity with some of the terms and some of the deals that we've done. So I'll be a willing listener, learner, and again, hope to be able to play a role in making good decisions on loans and development of the county.
Questions for Mr. Carroll? Yes, ma'am.
Through the chair to Mr. Carroll, what happens to the loans that are creditworthy, but isn't apparent? The creditworthiness isn't apparent, but they have other good parts of the program. What do we do?
So through the chair, Councilwoman, my understanding is sometimes the committee, the CCCIC, makes tweaks. They'll come back and say, hey, the county should look at this. Let's appraise this correct collateral. Let's see that it's solid. I think they do a broad analysis of the value of the loan. I think they're really a recommending body. I mean, I assume if a loan were really, really risky and they felt badly about it, they would express that, and then it would be back to the county to determine what to do with it. But I think they serve in that sort of advisory capacity, and there's a lot. I understand there's a lot of back and forth in those meetings, and so that's the kind of value they add to it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that people that come before that board still have an opportunity to come back and once they get their program or their creditworthiness?
I do think that, again, changes are made after the loan's presented to the committee. I think that does happen.
And final question, you mentioned some other boards that you're on. Any of these in any conflict or any way with the CCIC?
Don't believe so, Councilwoman. I kind of look at it on a case-by-case basis. I think if something like that came up, I could recuse myself or any of the other members of the committee. I think they probably do sometimes.
So the boards that you, Part B, the boards that you're on, you're still on?
At the ones I
Everything that you
mentioned.
mentioned.
The ones I mentioned, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Matt, I remember, if I remember correctly, there were some loans, can qualify, but some loans that were not reviewed by CCIC, but all should be. Do you agree with that?
That's my understanding, Councilman, is that that's the process. There may be a reason that didn't happen, but that's what the county has set up to do.
I imagine with your dual role as a interim chief of staff?
Yes, sir.
Correct. And now potentially on this board, you could ensure that does happen, that all loans are reviewed,
That would be my expectation.
and mine as well. I guess I'll kind of say this, as you mentioned your history here, it takes me back to when we first, when new county government started, and we were learning the departments, you and I both, I representing council and yourself, the administration, we traveled together in those early days just to see the departments and learn what they were doing in that time. So it kind of takes me back. So you have a lot of institutional knowledge, and I wish you well on this endeavor.
Councilman.
Mr. Carroll, I have some grave concerns, but they're outside the four corners of this discussion right now, which is probably unfair for me to bring that in there. My concern right now is, aren't you spread a little bit thin? It just seems to me that I don't know if we have enough candidates available, qualified candidates available. You're on an awful lot of things, and as of last week or the week before, it seems now you're interim HR director. It just seems to be ever expanding. Is this too much?
Mr. Chairman, that's a fair question. I feel like I can incorporate this into my responsibilities. I think the committee meets at most once a month. I think if there is no loan to consider that month, I don't think it actually has the meeting. But again, I think that's a fair point. I do feel like I can balance the work that I have and incorporate this into it.
Okay, anything further? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Pomerantz.
Good morning. I have a prepared statement I'd like to read, if that's okay with all of you.
Sure.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gallagher, Vice Chair Jones, and members of the committee. Thank you for taking time to consider my appointment to the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation. As the Director of Regional Collaboration, I've been working with mayors and managers and external stakeholders to connect them to the resources that the county can provide to support cost savings, collaboration, communication, and increase the opportunities for each of the 59 municipalities. Serving as a member of this board will deepen my ability to support these goals and connect local businesses with fundings that will advance their business, as well as increase the overall economic strategies of the region. As my potential appointment, I would be replacing Luis Cartagena, Cuyahoga County's former inclusion officer. I see my position on this board specifically focused on ensuring inclusion amongst a diverse group of businesses, and I will work with my deputy director and new inclusion officer, Janae Holly, to increase opportunity awareness and applicants to apply for these loans. Another priority for me is to use these loans to help create jobs that would not have otherwise taken place. I've attended one of the meetings already and had the pleasure to meet with the members of the boards of trustees and to review the goals of the committee, which include business growth and attraction lending, real estate finance lending, and business attraction incentives. I look forward to any questions you may have and appreciate the executive's confidence in my ability to serve in this capacity. Thank you.
Questions for Ms. Pomerantz? Yes, ma'am.
Through the chair to Ms. Pomerantz this morning, could you make sure that the committee gets all of the loans that have come before the CCIC since 2018? And do all county loans go before this board?
Through the chair, Councilwoman Conwell, I'm not positive of that, but I can definitely follow up. And to the point made earlier by Councilman Jones, make sure that you get a copy of all that have been made, and then make sure that we're doing as a body, reviewing them all.
And how many hats do you wear currently, right now with the county?
Currently, I am responsible with my amazing co-director who works really amazingly. We do advocacy for the county. We also work on boards and commissions. And I'm working on supporting the liaison role between council and the executive. And
Are you that liaison, or are you finding someone?
we're working on supporting it in the best way possible. And sometimes it could be me, sometimes it could be Deputy Director Holly, and working with other members of the executive staff to make sure to support clearer communication.
And then your primary role?
Regional collaboration. And I'd like to say that I've had the opportunity to have a few more hats than some of the previous directors of regional collaboration, but I'd also say that I've worked on making sure that there's systems and operations so that things are flowing. And I'd like to think that maybe you guys, you have a body, have seen that through the boards and commissions. Advocacy is something that's got busy times and lulls and peaks, but regional collaboration and the relationship with mayors and managers is something that I'm trying to carve out days and times for it as being my most valuable opportunity to support. Again, increasing opportunity and communication where there is capacity at the county and where there needs to be other connections with members and stakeholders.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Jones?
More comment, just to echo what my colleague has said. Seeing a report would be excellent, and just a reminder, again, I think all loans should be reviewed by this board, and it's not optional, it should be done.
Through the chair, I will make sure to have that happen, and maybe we can do periodically quarterly updates of some sort that I'd be happy to help lead as I'm sitting there anyways.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Ms. Palmer, I want to actually thank you. It's rare for somebody to come in a situation in which you came in, and your more than helper here, your associate, has been obviously one of the rocks over there. It's a difficult situation you came into, in that you're dealing with everybody in this county. And it's just not an easy thing. There's different personalities, different needs, different wants, and everybody's got an opinion. And so you're kind of in a very delicate position, and it reflects on us if you're doing a good job or a bad job. And I can report to you that from the folks in my district that they quite honestly appreciate your care and concern for their needs. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank yourself and Jean for what you do.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Director.
It's not often that you get thanked
know, right?
for anything. I don't think any of us
Is
much
this
get
candid
that.
camera?
But that's the
thank
world
you.
in which we have chosen to live, and
Thank you.
and I wouldn't choose anything differently. But you make our lives a little bit better, and that's for certain. If everyone's on now, is there a need to move this forward?
This committee meets monthly, the second Wednesday, and the next meeting is May 8th.
Do they need to be seated? No or yes?
I think if you could move past the second reading, that would be good.
Okay. With the recommendation that we move this to the next council meeting on our second reading suspension, I'll accept a motion to that.
Second. Oh, I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'll get you those reports right away.
Chair, may I ask one more question?
You want that one?
Chair, may I ask one?
Yes, sir.
one question? If you're not officially seated, is there voting that needs to take place, or are you?
Through the chair, Michael Mays is here. He is the person that would know most about that.
Mr. Chairman, Michael May, I'm the Economic Development Administrator of the Department of Development. As it was stated, the CIC meetings are, quote, regularly done on the second Wednesday of every month. So in this case, it would be May 8th. We're not sure if we have a loan. Typically, if we don't have loans, the committee, the board does not meet unless it has other governance issues to meet about. So right now, we're at the precipice of not sure whether we're going to have a May 8th meeting. I believe that with the status of the loans that are being prepared right now, that we probably will not. So we don't have that. It's a rather moot point right now as to whether anybody, voting members, will need to be there. We would have a quorum, actually, with the people that we have already seated on the board. So these pending appointments would be, kind of a non-issue right now. But I would reiterate, though, there is a real need to get the vacancies on the board filled as quickly as possible. We've been sort of waiting for several months now, and so we're trying to push that. So any expediency that could be brought to the table would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Where do you guys meet?
We actually normally meet here at the, usually in the fourth floor conference room over here next door. Every once in a while, we'll meet at the Greater Cleveland Partnership. Our annual meeting took place there, for example, back in March. They host a couple of our things.
And those are public meetings?
They are. Every single meeting is a public meeting and is announced through the media.
Now, the individuals that are going for the loans, are they present at that time, or they can be present, and how does
They
that?
are present for that loan committee. It's an absolute must.
Okay.
Yes, the officers of the applicant / borrower / project must be there to present their project.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to skip B, move to C, Resolution 2019-0106.
Resolution number 2019-0106, confirming the county executive's appointment of Nancy Mendez to serve on the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture Board of Trustees for the term 4/1/2019 to 3/31/2022.
Ms. Mendez. Welcome.
Thank you. If it's okay with the council, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background and my interest in serving on this board.
Sure.
I think it's important to let you know that I did attend CMSD schools in the near west side of Cleveland, and through that experience, I learned that there was very little access to arts and culture that was made available to children attending CMSD schools. Unfortunately, I was able to get an academic scholarship and went to high school and college on the East Coast, and for the first time really was exposed to the arts, from the Boston Symphony to museums all over the East Coast, and I really understood the importance of having that in your life to be able to expand your perspective. Did move back to the greater Cleveland area, worked in nonprofits for a number of years, and I learned the importance of best practices, of budgeting, of doing a lot with a very small budget. Then I worked at Case Western Reserve University in minority public health, and understood and researched how pilot projects would work in minority communities in particular. So through that experience, I really understood how to measure the effectiveness of programs. Where I really believe my experience will be useful to the board in the last 10 years, I've been working at the United Way of Greater Cleveland. I'm currently the Vice President of Community Impact, which is the department that works with the community and funds programs in the community. And through United Way, I've learned to have to make adjustments as resources get smaller or more challenged economically, but not really moving away from the importance of funding different types of services in the community. There's importance in large organizations that have a far reach in our community, but there's also importance in funding those anchor organizations that are the only ones who are able to serve a very specific organization. So you have to be thoughtful, you have to be strategic, and you have to stay within budget. And I believe that I can bring that to the board. And why do I want to serve on arts and culture when my background is academics? Again, I do believe that arts and culture are extremely important to the economy of a region. I believe that also it is a way to be a bridge from the different people that live across the county. It's a way to speak to people. Data speaks to my mind, art speaks to my soul. So again, I think that it's incredibly important that we fund arts and culture. And also, as an aside, I was able to move forward because of an academic scholarship. My brother, on the other hand, was able to receive scholarships because of his interest in performance arts. He started off actually at Karamu and would take 2 to 3 buses, depending on the day, to be able to go dance at Karamu, and then moved on to the Philadelphia College of Performing Arts. So I see firsthand the importance of making arts and culture available to every child and every person in this community. With that, I would be more than happy to answer any of the council's questions.
Good morning, everyone. My apologies for my attendance. I just learned there was a truck that was stuck under the bridge on 77 and resulted in my tardiness this morning. So I am going to open it up to my colleagues for questions. Councilwoman Conwell.
Through the chair to Ms. Mendez, do you sit on other boards currently?
No, I did sit on one board that I believe was conflict of interest, and since then I've stepped down. But because of my role as Vice President of Community Impact, years ago I had to step off of many boards I served on.
And I don't know if this is a question for Ms. Mendez or Ms. Holly. Who sits on the board currently?
We have Jill here today from the Arts and Cultural Board, Jill Paulson, who will be able to speak more on the board.
It's fine.
Morning.
Great to see you all again. My name is Jill Paulson. I'm Interim Director of Cuyahoga Arts and Culture. Our board has 5 people currently serving. Mark Avsek, who will serve until his place is reappointed, hopefully by Nancy today or in coming weeks. Gwendolyn Garth, she's an artist. Gary Hansen, former arts administrator. Ken Miller, executive editor of Call and Post. And Charna Sherman, who is an attorney. She currently serves as our president.
Repeat the last name.
Sherman? Yep, Charna Sherman, yes. We've got great bios on the website, cacgrants.org.
So if you have 5, who is Nancy replacing?
Nancy would be replacing Mark Avsek, whose term recently ended.
Are there term limits?
They serve 3-year terms. He would have been able to be reappointed, but chose not to, so we're looking to fill his spot.
And the Sherman person, is that female or male?
Female.
Female, okay. Okay. Shy. Tanya.
Charna.
China.
She's the president.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Councilman Jones?
Yes. Okay. First, congratulations on getting this far in the process.
Thank you.
Excellent. Give you a quick history. We did when we did the arts and culture levy. One thing that came from this body was a desire to have diversity, and I've heard you speak towards that. And this board has worked towards that. It's my desire that continue, and that each board member has a good sense of finding that balance. We have the great institutions who have led this community, from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Cleveland Orchestra. You can name the big leaders here in the community, but we also have those grassroots, which I've heard you speak to. And dollar-wise, financially, I like to see I don't know if the word balance, but a fairness in how the dollars are distributed. And as you consider the formulas and those things that all the residents who give towards, whose dollars go towards this through the tax levy, that we find that balance. I don't know what that is. I'm going to leave that to you all. But I think it's a conversation that needs to continue. It's happened, but we want it to continue. And I just want you to be empowered to find that peaceful balance between all parties.
Thank you, Councilperson. I actually very much believe in the importance of taking a look at the resources available and making strategic decisions on how you must fund as many diverse programs as possible. That means that programs that used to receive funding in the past when funding was much healthier, you will have to say no, but to some of those programs. But as long as you're equitable, as long as you're understanding the importance of funding specific programs in many different areas to reach and touch as many individuals who live in our community, I think that there's a way that we could get there where we can be fair, we could be equitable, and we can make sure that we have a diverse group of funding that, again, touches as many individuals and different types of individuals in our community. We have to be strategic. We have to look at the data. But again, we also have to look at it through the lens of equity.
Thank you.
As you touch on funding, there has been conversations around the method in which we utilize to get the arts and culture levy. Do you have any comments or ideas or thoughts about that?
We have these conversations all the time at United Way as well. We've tried everything from formulas to looking at historical funding, and I think that you have to be nimble and always take a look at what's currently available. Sometimes it's okay to use a combination of things. Maybe you start off with a formula, but you then always have to make a initial decision and then take another step back and look at, did you check off all the places and organizations and grant types that you wanted to reach? So a lot of times you have to use several types of steps to get to appropriate funding that really has that far reach that you're looking for. So we have used formulas, for example, at United Way, but again, it's usually that first step. Take a look at where you land, and then you go back in with that extra lens of diversity, equity, of making sure that you fund a nice grouping of organizations and types of grants.
Do you know the mechanism on which the arts and culture levy is funded right now?
No, I do not, but I look forward to learning.
Okay, so currently it is a tax on the tobacco usage, and with the things that are transpiring to make our communities healthier, it has been labeled a regressive tax. So I would respectfully request that you give a lot of consideration to that so we can come up with some formulas that would certainly make this a healthier funding mechanism, both financially and for the community.
My apologies, Chairwoman. I did understand that the dollars that are raised come through the tax levy, and the health side of me is very happy that they're shrinking dollars. So there's opportunities to take a look at other revenues, resource revenues that perhaps we could take a look at with the help of other public and civic leaders in the community. But you have to look at that reality. You want it to shrink. You want the usage of cigarettes to decrease. And so that means that we have to be very thoughtful and strategic. But again, taking a look at, there's a certain number of large organizations that have a far reach that we definitely want to continue to fund, and we understand what they bring, the value they bring to the organization. But I, again, have also seen the value of those very small personal programs or that reach the individual artists that are just as important to everything that we do in this community. So again, strategic, thoughtful, through the lens of equity.
Absolutely, balance is important. My colleagues, do you have any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right, there being none, if there are no objections, looks like we should move this under second reading suspension to the full body of the council. Do I have a second? I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? It's been moved in second. If there are no further questions, comments, or concerns, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I understand we went from item B, and I'm not sure if we need to go back to that or if we can hold it until the last item. Are you okay with that? All right, so if, Council Clerk, if you'll read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution number 2019-0107, confirming the county executive's appointment or reappointment of various individuals to serve on the Cuyahoga County Advisory Board on Senior and Adult Services for various terms.
And I'll turn it over to Ms. Holly if you'll give us a little bit of background.
Yes, Madam Chair, on behalf of the county executive, I'm here to recommend 9 individuals that are listed on the agenda for the appointment to the Cuyahoga County Advisory Board on Senior and Adult Services. This board, they represent the interests of seniors and making recommendations to the Division of Senior and Adult Services about pertinent aging issues and policies. Out of the 9, 2 aren't here today, Dr. Doug Beach and Susan Wong, who have submitted letters to you all.
Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions for Ms. Holly regarding the appointments or this board? Okay, then we will move on to our first candidate, Beth Sipple. If you'll step up, state your name for the record, and give us a little bit of your background and why you'd like to serve.
Thank you to the council for considering my nomination to this board. My name is Beth Sipple, and I am Director of Community Services and Programs at the Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging. My agency serves older adults and individuals with disabilities, and we are a community-based nonprofit. We have had representation on this committee for many years. I'm interested in serving on the committee because it is an opportunity for me to support the work of the Division of Senior and Adult Services and advocate for older adults and individuals with disabilities in another capacity. I've been doing so for 30 years as a community-based social worker, working with seniors in their homes, linking and referring them to services and programs with the Division of Senior and Adult Services. I've been a part of the Aging Network for 30 years here in Cuyahoga County, and I would look forward to the opportunity to serving on the board and advocating and collaborating with those in different agencies.
How did you learn about the opening?
I was referred to apply by my COO. We had an opportunity to reapply because we had a vacancy. One of our directors left our agency.
Okay, and so will you be replacing that individual?
Yes.
Okay, and would you let us know who that person is?
Christine Foley.
Okay. All right, I'll open it up to my colleagues if there are any questions, comments, or concerns. None? None? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming before us and sharing your background. It's always beneficial for the committee to understand these individuals, and your commitment to come before us and share your desire to serve is greatly appreciated by this committee. So thank you for your time this morning, and we'll move on to our next candidate. You're very welcome, who is David Carlson. Mr. Carlson.
Morning, members of council. My name is Dave Carlson. I work for the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I'm currently in a management role. I've spent over almost 12 years of my career with that entity, and through that time, I've had the good fortune of getting to support individuals with disabilities, but also the aging population. And actually, my first assignment with the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities was in a role where I was working in tandem with the City of Euclid's Senior Center. And it was at that time that I really came to understand the importance of quality programming that is geared towards seniors and the impact that that can have on a community. And as I learned of this opportunity through the departure of my colleague, Melanie Rack, who also works for the County Board of Developmental Disabilities, she and I talked at length about the impact that this advisory board has on the overall mission of the Division of Senior and Adult Services. And I knew that it would be an excellent fit for me, both personally and professionally, because I've been extremely passionate about supporting individuals with disabilities and also individuals who are aging. And so I'm really happy to be here today and happy to answer any other questions that you may have for me.
All right, thank you for your willingness to serve. It appears that, okay, I was going to say I don't have your resume, but I do. All right, so you, having served in some capacity with the county, can you share with us maybe some of the new ideas you might like to introduce to this board?
Yeah, absolutely. I just spoke this morning with some of the staff members of DSAS about the need to really increase our collaboration specific to individuals with disabilities. One of the things that this advisory board is going to be doing is bringing a spotlight at our monthly meetings and talking about ways that we can connect both seniors and individuals with disabilities to more resources in the community. And that's something that I do every day in my current role now. I manage internal communications for all of our case managers. And so I'm pretty well connected to what types of community resources are available. So I look forward to really fostering that kind of a partnership and bringing perhaps greater visibility to those types of resources to this advisory board.
I'm pleased to hear you talk about the collaboration of the agencies. One of the things that came to mind when you spoke about that is we have. Is there a need or opportunity for nurses in this capacity? And I'm sure you might be clear on why I asked, but I think it seems like it would be a natural transition for some of those individuals to be a part of the Department of Senior Adult Services or Developmental Board of Disability. So, from where you sit, can you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, specific to getting as many different disciplines at the table as possible, that would be helpful. It's struck me already in the interactions that I've had with the the Division of Senior and Adult Services that they really prioritize sort of interdisciplinary approaches to things. And, I can't speak to the specifics of what kind of medical things they have at the table currently, but I could see how that would be beneficial.
I'll open it up to my colleagues if there are any questions, comments, or concerns. Councilman Jones.
I'm more curious, in your role with the board of BODD board, you mentioned seniors, but those who have disabilities. We know many of the services and the needs of seniors, but maybe you could speak a little to if there's a difference between or more specialty need for seniors who are with disability. Could you maybe speak to that?
Sure. So one of the things we see is kind of the intersection of seniors and people with disabilities, and sometimes they're one and the same. And so there's definitely a need to consider issues of aging in place, whether that's assistive technology or other types of in-home supports that can happen, in addition to community-based services where people are going out to receive programs, to see things, to meet other people. And that's one of the reasons that I'm most excited about potentially serving in this capacity, is because I do see that intersection between the services that my organization provides as well as the needs of seniors in general.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, comments, or concerns from the committee, I thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge with us and your willingness to serve. I'll ask our next candidate to come up, Ms. Cheryl Crahan. And if you'll state your name for the record and give us a little bit of your background and share with us why you'd like to serve.
My name is Cheryl Crahan, and I work at Metro Health Medical Center in the Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. Thank you for this opportunity. And so we work a lot with trauma patients and survivors of serious illnesses of all ages. I think one of the reasons why I was asked to join the board was to kind of expand. My other colleague mentioned aging in place. So if someone becomes severely injured, they maybe can't get back to their home. They really don't want to go to a nursing home at age 45. So what do we do? And so part of my role with the Benjamin S. Gerson Resource Center as a resource coordinator is to figure out how to expand resources that we have now, collaborate with other agencies, and I've had the opportunity to do that with DSAS long before I was asked to join the board, is they have a wonderful home care program. So we've had people that were discharged from hospitals but didn't have the social support systems to get ready to come to therapy, to get well, to reach their maximum potential. So we've been able to figure out ways to provide funding for that so people can get in the door and come to our program and receive the services and reach their maximum potential. And these are, like I said, of all ages, but I focus a lot on ages 18 to 59 because that seems to be a lot of the gap of services. They're maybe not eligible for the Department of DD. They're not eligible for some of the senior services because they're not age 60. So, but they want to stay in their home and they want to age in place. And now we're working with, obviously, seniors that have disabilities as well. So, I guess that's about all I can think of.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm going to open it up to my colleagues if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Okay, excellent. There being none, we thank you for your willingness to serve in this capacity. And again, your coming out and before this committee is greatly appreciated, as it is important to us that the individuals seeking these positions, that we have some familiarity with them on a personal level. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask our next candidate to come forward, Mr. Cameron Harris. And if you'll state your name for the record and your desire to serve on this committee.
Certainly. My name is Cameron Harris, and I have prepared remarks if that is fine with the committee. So Chairwoman Brown, members of the committee, again, my name is Cameron Harris. Currently, I serve as the Healthcare Liaison and Field Representative in the Office of Congresswoman Marsha Fudge. My responsibilities primarily include serving as an outreach representative and acting as a liaison between constituents and government agencies as it relates to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and SNAP. I also have the opportunity to manage constituent cases by helping resolve these issues that senior citizens have through investigation, facilitation, and sometimes intervention. About 90% of my casework portfolio involves issues that relates to older Americans. And I will say that in my role thus far with this portfolio, there has been no greater joy than to hear the relief from a family or an older American who has a pressing issue at the moment. I work on the behalf of seniors every day. It's something that I've grown to love. My job responsibilities are not what only fuels my passion to serve on this board. Along with my professional passion, I have a personal passion. I'm seeking to be more immersed in this field because I too have had a life-changing encounter with an older American who has been monumental in my life. This older American was a Korean War veteran. He was a pastor, a mentor, a father figure for me, but above all, he was my grandfather. And just last year, he went through some health conditions that caused his health to deteriorate at a fast rate that no one saw or no one expected. And for me personally, seeing my grandfather in that state and then knowing what my family had to do to navigate the senior adult and service system, it sends the family in a dysfunctional way. So with that, I have made a personal pledge that I want to be an advocate. I want to be a resource for all those who go through the traumatic experience of watching a loved one go through the next stages of life. It's something that I wish I was more knowledgeable of at the time my grandfather was going through it. But since then, like I said, I made it a personal pledge of mine to be an advocate, to serve as a resource, to grow in knowledge, to help families and those who are in need of these services. Thank you, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story. And one of the things that you touched on, you said you deal with a lot of issues in our elderly community. Can you just highlight maybe the top two specific issues you encounter when dealing with the seniors?
Sure, certainly. So as been mentioned before, a lot of seniors are aging in place. And there's data that's showing that as the years progress, there will be more and more seniors who are choosing to age in place, and this brings forth a number of problems. So I think aging in place is a starting point. It's the first problem, and then the second rising issue that I see is people's access to benefits like Social Security and SNAP, and not getting their money on time, trying to figure out how to survive off of a certain amount of money. Not getting through on a phone call, not being responded to. Those are the calls that we get every single day.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll open it up to my colleagues for any questions, comments, or concerns. You have none? Councilman Gallagher?
Thank you for being here. It's easily one of the more interesting things to me is how we treat our seniors. And you could send a message to the Congresswoman that she is part representative of one of the silver tsunami, as they call it, areas in the United States, certainly in Ohio. I think we do a miserable job in Cuyahoga County handling our seniors. We do the best we can with what we have. We have 100,000 more seniors in this county than Franklin County, and they outspend us 10-1. And that's a reflection on us. And a reflection on those that are trying to gather dollars for us in Washington, not all on those folks in Washington. It mainly rests with us. So there has to be decisions made very soon that are going to deal with this problem. And it is a problem in that money doesn't fix everything, but it certainly would go a long way with the aging in place, especially that I know. I was excited that we had Dr. Jones here for quite some time, and then he left, and I was very sad when he left because he had that vision that I thought that we needed to move forward regards to funding and programming. So you're walking into a situation that is very important, I believe, that is going to touch probably most, if not every family, most families within this county, whether people realize it or not. And we have the civil or the World War II vets are aging out. Your grandfather, my father, Korea era, Vietnam was mine. And now we're moving forward. The baby boomers are here, and we have to address it. So good luck, and thanks for taking this on.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right, Mr. Harris, I echo Councilman Gallagher's sentiments, as he has been a champion of the seniors since as long as I've been in on council, as well as this entire committee. But he's probably the loudest, and I think it's because he's closest to. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, we do thank you for your willingness to serve. And if there's nothing else, I'm going to ask for our next candidate to come up, Ms. Ashley Moresi, and and if you'll state your name, give us your background, and why you'd like to serve. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ashley Morrissey. I'm a clinical social worker at the Department of Veterans Affairs, Wade Park. It has a bunch of names now. Wade Park Lewis Stokes Medical Center. I currently, in my role, I'm a social worker. I'm the dementia care coordinator, but more specifically, that's like a subset of our geriatric clinic. So obviously, I'm pretty entrenched in older adults' needs. And as a social worker, there's a lot of advocacy, a lot of resources, a lot of collaboration within the VA system in different departments as well as the community. And obviously, the VA does serve more than Cuyahoga County, but the majority of the veterans that I do work with do reside in Cuyahoga County. So there is a lot of collaboration with the county on the services that they offer. The VA is very fortunate to offer a lot of services, but we do rely on some of those locally for our veterans, their families, their caregivers. So we're very fortunate to have that support for our nation's heroes. But any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you also for your willingness to serve. Having worked with the veteran population, what would you say is the greatest disconnect, and then what would you say is where our greatest strength is?
Ooh, it's loaded. I think they're with the veteran population as a whole, a disconnect between just our
senior
nation.
and adult services.
I think, to be honest, I think over the last few years, we've strengthened our relationship with DSAS, especially with the APS I-Team Collaborative, which I also partake in, that they've really understood that, hey, there are veterans out here and they have specific needs, and we need to help address those. And if they're not able to really hone in on those, they know how to refer. And so I think that collaboration has really strengthened over the past years. But I will say that there's not that many, to be honest, I don't think that, obviously if we could continue to serve the veterans more holistically, that would be the biggest weakness. But I think to be honest, there are more strengths at this point in the collaboration between DSAS and our veteran population.
Thank you. I'll open it up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, Ms. Morrissey, thank you very much for your service to our veterans and your willingness to serve on the Senior Advisory Council. And my question is whether you believe there's specific ways that seniors who happen also to be veterans need to be treated any differently than the senior population generally.
That's a very good question. No, not per se. I think, you know, at the end of the day, they're all humans. They did a great service to our country by serving. And those that maybe if the veteran themselves is needing more specific services, the VA would be happy to assist them with that regard. But you know, as a citizen, you know, and a veteran, I don't think that there's any specific thing that they would need to be doing differently, except, you know, providing the care and services and supports and resources as they're doing now.
If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, thank you again. We'll move on to our next category of reappointments. And we did receive a letter from Dr. Douglas Beach, so we'll move right on to Alan Bedingfield. And if you'll state your name for the record, give us a little bit of your background and why you'd like to serve.
Good morning, Council. Bedingfield, Alan Bedingfield, with the United Way of Greater Cleveland presently. In my work with the United Way of Greater Cleveland, I do development work in the workplace campaign and also with individuals, as well as new campaigns and new business as well. Thank you for considering my reappointment to second term on the board. I bring with me from my organization the power of convening and collaborating with other board members in helping to find resources in our community. My passion for sitting on this board really comes out of a personal situation. For 12 years, my wife and I have been the primary caretakers for our parents as they age, and one of my aunts as they aged. Over that time, we lost my mother, my father, my father-in-law, and my aunt. And through that experience of dealing with nursing homes, government agencies, various county agencies, and various people that provide resources in the community, I just really felt very strongly that I needed to do something in my community to help the seniors in my community, as well as adults with disabilities too, because I have a son that is on the autism spectrum. And as he matriculates through school, my concern is what will happen to him after I am gone when he's 30 years old. Will he be able to take care of himself in a safe manner, or at least have access to some of the services that our community may be able to support and provide through this board's help. But in addition to that, what really struck me was I saw how not only my parents, but many parents, many seniors in our community work hard to achieve the American dream. They pay their taxes, they work for 30, 40 years, they buy a home, they're very proud of that home. That in my father-in-law's case, he built his home, and it was very important for him to pass away in his home, as well for my mother and my father, who were not able to do that because of the current structure of the current nature of our resources in our communities. So I'd like to reverse that and help people, as many seniors as possible in our community, to age gracefully in their homes. I think we owe that to them as a community, as Americans, to help them age gracefully in their homes and die while living the American dream as best they can in place with their families, and hopefully maybe even to retain some of the resources that they've accumulated along the way, so that they can really have a full participation in the American dream. So thank you for considering me again for a second term. I'd be very happy to serve again.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your willingness to continue to serve and sharing your personal stories. As you touched on that, it reminded me of a recent passing of a near friend, loved one, and what I learned was some of the great financial struggle that was imposed upon them while having their loved one in a nursing home care. Unbeknownst to me, that they, when you put a loved one in a nursing home and you run out of the natural, your regular financial resources, they have the capacity to take your home. And I found that very unsettling because, as you touch on the nature of your relatives having built a home and wanting to have that experience to be able to live peacefully in their home until they transition. Everyone does not have that privilege or luxury. So I guess my question for you is, have you heard about such scenarios? That do those type of issues come before you? Has that been a concern in the community?
Yes, that is actually very close to my own mother and father's experience. My mother was diagnosed with cancer some years ago, breast cancer, which she beat, and we thought she was clean for many years, 10 years or so. The cancer came back, spread to her brain, and of course to other parts of her body. And I only bring that up to say that her deterioration was very quick as a result of some of the drugs that she was taking. She had an adverse reaction to that. And so basically what happened was, in about a 4-week span, through the holidays, through Christmas to just past New Year's, we not only found out that the cancer had returned, it was in her brain, it was kind of entering the endocrine system, stage 4 at that time, which was already devastating. But then to find out that the medication that she was taking gave her adverse reaction, which caused, unfortunately, within very quick time, maybe 5 days or so, the loss of her eyesight. And then, of course, she's being told that she can't go back home. And all these things were it was just like one blow, cancer, boom. And then it's like blindness, boom. Oh, you can't go back home, boom. And everything is gone in a matter of 4 weeks. And if you can just imagine, I saw her struggling with that, but I know everyone up here on the council can just imagine a life-changing event like that in a 4-week period of time. And to watch her go through that was very difficult, and realizing how much pride she had in what she had achieved, and working very hard and purchasing a home and owning a home and all of those things. So, yes.
Thank you again. I'll open it up to my colleagues if there are any questions. Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, Mr. Bedingfield, thank you very much for serving on the council and for your willingness to serve again. We appreciate your service. I'm one who supports what my colleague, Councilman Gallagher, said, that we're not doing enough for our senior citizens, and as the senior population expands, the gaps are only going to get larger. And we're heading into the time where we're going to need to decide what approach we're going to take to the Health and Human Services levy, which is due to go back on the ballot next year. And my question is from your experience on the council, are there particular senior services that the county provides that where you feel that we're not providing the resources to meet the need, and that the services need more money? And also, are there any services that we're not providing at all that you think we should be providing?
So let me answer the first question first. I think that we have a robust number of services in our community to address senior needs. Those services are often based upon financial situations. The financial situation, in my view, is not broad enough to include enough people, first. And then secondly, your question about the services, your second question was about services that aren't provided?
The second services question was, are there any services that are needed that we don't provide at all?
Yeah, and that's why I'm on the board. We're working through some of those right now. There's services available, they're just not robust enough. For example, transportation in our community needs to be addressed. Helping people age gracefully in their homes, home repairs, low-cost home repairs, adding grab rails, things of this nature, little small things that we need in our community to make it better. And I think, as Councilman Gallagher said, money doesn't fix everything, but it's a great start in helping to address many needs.
So I'm hearing more that there's that we have the right services out there, but just not enough of them.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns from the committee? Councilman Jones?
Councilman actually touched on my question, so you answered it. I'll just throw this out. When you mentioned home repairs, this council did pass legislation for to do home repairs. It's still being crafted, and it doesn't go into effect. Dollars are not distributed until next year, but that the administration will have to determine whose homes are repaired, what happens within this county. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, any impact you may be able to have, and what that eventually looks like. You might have interest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your willingness to serve, Mr. Bedingfield. I am going to ask for our next candidate to come up, and that's going to be Susan Wong. I know, I think Ms. Holly had indicated that she was not present, but then I learned that she's actually here with us today. And we have a letter we have letters again from Dr. Douglas Beach and Ms. Catherine Foley. So, Ms. Wong, if you are here, if you'll please step forward, state your name for the record, and let us know a little bit of your background, as well as why you would like to serve.
Good morning, everyone. Because this is a very short notice, and that's the reason why my speech is slightly short than the normal. Susan, working for Asian Services International since 2002, so it's pretty much like a long time. Current role is overseas or direct services, but way back in my life, 2/3 of my life is serving senior and families, is a underserved population. Primary focus on limited English proficiency. So this is my passion. The reason why I have this passion is because my aunt. I came to United States in 1993. I didn't know anything about that. Even though culture, transportation, I have challenge. My aunt holding my hand worked through every single day. If without my aunt, I will not sit standing right here and share my passion, why I need to sit in this board. After I graduate my college, I commit myself, I need to serve the underserved population, especially limited English proficiency. The reason why is because I see the disconnect between the community and the population. Even though you saw the census 2010, I can tell you things is a lot of non-English speakers, they didn't fill up the census. You will see they are not existing in the community. However, they are documented, but they are not showing up in county. That is the reason why one of the things is I would like to commit in the board and connect with based on my limited capacity, I want to connect the community I'm serving and to the county. And hopefully they are able to access all the services we suppose the community able to get. I can tell you one thing, my aunt is getting old. She is not able to access a lot of services because the culture barrier, because the transportation, because the language. We have so much challenge. I would like to see myself that in the future, I might have the same issue. That is the reason why I want to use my ability, my time, able to help this population to get what they need from the county, from the state. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you very much. One of the things you spoke on was the census, and that is coming up very soon in the near future. And I just wanted to ask if you have any plans on being involved or any suggestions on how we might better engage the non-English speaking community to ensure their participation, because that is so important to us getting the appropriate resources in the county.
Yes, Asian services is wrap-up services. Also, we have a department is a policy advocacy. We already start working on that, engage and educate the community. We translate into different language and go into different grassroots community and talking to them door to door and educate them how important is that. I can share one example with you is because in 2010 census, and I was the one of the person walk through the Chinatown 36th Street, knock the door to door, hopefully they are able to understand the census, how important it is. They just said, don't worry about that. No one listened to them. That is the reason why I got the message from the community. So I understand this is important. That is why I would like the county understand that these people exist. But the thing is, we see it is a cultural barrier also. It's between the community and the county. How are we able to connect? You need to, what my suggestion is, you need to look for connect with the different county, not only high level, and also is a grassroots level, because we do know have a lot of community, they are already serving an official. So we already, as a agency-wise, we already have a grassroots networking get ready for 2020, and then selection as well.
That's good to know. Any questions from my colleagues? Councilman Miller?
Madam Chair, Ms. Huang, I'd like to commend you for your excellent service. I believe that that we're all connected, and it's very important that we be welcoming and have a community where everybody can be fully appreciated and can fully participate in our community. The policy from our highest national leaders toward foreign-born Americans has become less favorable. My question is whether what's going on at the national level is having any impact on what you see on the ground here in Cleveland, or does that not make any difference?
Be honest, Asian services, most likely we do a lot of national level. Yes, we do a lot of a national level movement, such as like we go to the Capitol and then talk to the all our senator, because we see that is when you have a new policy coming out, we need to go through every single level, not only like the local wise. For example, in July, we always every single year we have a usually we have an event supposed in May, but because due to some issue we will postpone in July. So we will take all the limited English proficiency the client, and we have a legislative day in Capitol. We raise our voice, and this is a movement. We need to have our government understand that we exist. This is what we need. So I understand this is not going to be happen in one day. We have this movement already over 6-7 years already. I see the progress, but not enough.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, comments, or concerns, thank you so much for coming before us and sharing your testimony and your willingness to continue to serve in this capacity. I am looking at this, and the terms are kind of staggered here, so I think it's probably in the best interest of this council that I make a motion to move this to the full body of the council under second reading suspension. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there are no further questions, comments, or concerns, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all for your willingness to serve coming out this morning. This council truly appreciates it. Council Clerk, if you'll go back to our previous item for the record.
Resolution number 2019-0102, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan.
Mr. Duchesne, if you'll step up and.
Good morning,
Good
Madam
morning.
Chair, members of the committee. I apologize for my casual attire. I wasn't expecting to be here this morning. Before you for your consideration are modifications to the county's non-bargaining classification plans. The changes in department's operational needs and routine maintenance necessitate changes, creation of one new classification, the revision of one new classification, and the deletion of 3 classifications. All the modifications before you were prepared by the PRC class and compensation staff, who's worked extensively with the Department of Human Resources and department management to ensure that they're fully informed of the proposed changes before you. In accordance with PRC rules, the proposed changes were posted on the PRC's website prior to your consideration. The PRC considered and approved recommending these changes at their April 3rd meeting. Madam Chair, I am requesting that we hold the proposed deletion, of the courier classification. There was one incumbent that was, the position was abolished and the employee was laid off. When we proposed deleting this classification, we saw that there were no incumbents, but the employee has subsequently filed an appeal of the layoff with the PRC, and I'd like to see that come to a conclusion before we propose deletion in case there's a order that this employee is brought back to work. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, given that information, and forgive me for not being fully on top of my Robert's Rule and Protocol, but I guess we should move to amend this legislation to remove Exhibit C from the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second to amend and remove Exhibit C. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and given that, I will now open it up to questions from my colleagues. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
No questions.
Yes, Councilman Miller.
Could you say a little bit more about the new classification, what it is and why it was created?
Madam Chair, Councilman Miller, the Early Childhood Mental Health System Coordinator is a new classification that's being created at the request of the department. This position will be posted and filled once the classification becomes effective. This person will need to have a background in social services and will essentially be a call taker who refers calls to appropriate resources in the community. So this person will not be providing any type of direct service, but will need to be knowledgeable as to the services and resources that are available so they can make the appropriate referrals.
The item in Exhibit D, where it says that the duties have been assigned to other employees, were the duties assigned to employees that are classified or are they unclassified positions?
Madam Chair, to Councilman Miller, these duties are essentially administrative and clerical in nature, and they have been reassigned to other existing classified employees.
All right, my only question is the revised position, Exhibit B. Was there a impact on the salary or schedule for the pay grade there?
Madam Chair, there is no impact on the employee's salary. Although the pay grade was reduced due to removal of supervisory duties, the incumbent's salary falls within the pay range of the new pay grade.
And there's only one individual?
Correct, one employee.
All right. I'll open it up to my colleagues. No further questions? All right, Councilman Miller?
I would make a motion for approval, and we'd like to get this in place and up and running, so I'll move that we recommend second reading suspension.
And I'll second that. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And looks like if anyone has no miscellaneous business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.